Martin have bumped Kyle out of the way for the win.
Kyle Busch will win the Sharpie 500.
He had a chance. He could have done it, but he didn't. You know, he raced me clean.
And climb into the driver's seat as we listen in on team communication. Then we head back to Atlanta.
It's a driver's racetrack. You got to work all over the place.
Do you remember these wacky events? Our panelists will break it down for you. Don't go away. This Week in NASCAR starts now. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. So glad you're with us here in the Charlotte, North Carolina studios, the headquarters of speed, if you will. Steve Burns alongside Chad Knaus and Michael Waltrip. Gentlemen, glad you're here. We haven't seen Chad in a while, but we weren't here for a while as well.
I know. I'm glad we're back. I love doing this show, and I'm glad you're back because people think that you're actually fun when you hang around with me. Which is good for you. You need that dynamic. Hey, let me tell you, I'm on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm Michael Waltrip. It's twitter.com/
Why do I subject myself to this?
It's Michael Waltrip. Excuse me. I'm on Twitter. It's MW. You do twitter.com and then you do a slash and you put MW55. Do you understand? Because I didn't explain it very well. You do /MW55. And what I'm going to do is you ask questions while you're watching the show, and then we'll talk about it while the show's on. Now, obviously, it's 4:10 Eastern in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. The skies are partly cloudy. There's been some rain showers. I just always wanted to be a weatherman. But it won't be live when we're talking. We'll talk live, but the show will be on.
You'll be answering live.
We'll be answering live and commenting. You know, isn't that cool? Like, people are going to be able to get more involved in our show, and I love this show. Chad, you know, I'm passionate about this show on Monday night, and I want to.
As though his life isn't confusing enough, he has to try to throw all this together at the same time.
I'm going to engage the fans, I guess, is the bottom line. Twitter.com/MW55. If you don't know how to do it, ask your kid.
Exactly.
He'll show you how to do it.
All right, we're on board with Twitter. All right, the headline is fourth win of 2009 for Kyle Busch, 16th career win. He sweeps Bristol for 2009. More importantly, boys, he cuts about half of his deficit from 12th place Matt Kenseth. He's now just 34 points out of 12th with 2 races remaining.
That team needed that because they weren't on the skids. I mean, they're a great team, and Steve Addington's a great guy, and they've got a great pit crew. Everything's great, but they just had some bad luck and some bad races. And man, they were on the downward slide big time.
They were struggling.
They were, and that type of win, especially coupled with him winning the truck race on Wednesday night, I think that's just going to promote a strong run here in Atlanta for him.
Michael, I read that Kyle Busch walked into the team shop at Joe Gibbs Racing unannounced and sat down with Steve Addington and said, what are we going to do? And apparently they talked for 2.5 hours, and looks like they're back on the same page. Well, something as simple as that, can it help?
Well, not only that, but it appears to me, or it feels like to me, that Kyle's been going to counseling. I mean, what he did on Saturday or Friday night was amazing. You know, he is the same old self. He got out of that car leading the race, got crashed, he ran that trailer. But when he came out, he emerged as a different person.
You mean on Friday night in the nationwide race? Yeah.
Did I say?
You said Saturday. That's okay.
No, you said Friday.
He did?
I did. So we'll just cut that. We'll edit that right out.
I'm still thinking about Twitter. Sorry.
We're going to edit that right out now. So what'll happen is it'll just be like, this is what the people will see at home. So what Kyle Busch did on Friday night, I think it showed some maturity. It's like he's been to counseling or something, because he went in the trailer, he was mad as heck, but he came out and he told the story. He told the story like the fans, like everybody needs to hear. You know, you don't want to see a guy walking off talking about, you know, you want to hear what happened. You want to hear his explanation. Everybody knows to be successful at this level, you have to be passionate. You got to be totally up against the chip, wide open. And then you just take a break and explain the story. And I think Kyle not only with what he did with Steve Addington and that group at his shop to make sure they were focused and directionally correct, then what we saw Friday night when he got crashed proved that in the heat of the moment, he still has the stuff together.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
He did a good job.
And then after the race Saturday, he gave a fan the checkered flag, and he gave Mark Martin a lot of credit. So they are turned around, so to speak. Well, you can imagine communication is challenging at the Bristol Motor Speedway. 160,000 fans and 43 cars around that high banked half mile make it a challenge. So listen in to Radioactive.
Radio, check 1, 2. 10-4, got you. Check 1, 2. I got you there. You got me okay? Got a copy. 10-4.
It's 500 laps. That's 2,000 corners to be negotiated tonight. The green flag is out. Biffle and Martin dash off into turn 1. Martin's car gets loose. He gets into Biffle. He falls back.
Okay. Obviously, it's loose, but it's great. It's going to be fine.
There's Tony Stewart, the points leader, struggling here in the early laps at Bristol.
Hand him the damn radios. Plug it into his helmet. Plug it into his helmet. Throw the radio in there so he can plug it into his helmet. Tony, can you hear me? But tight on the door, loose on the roof. Number of fingers is how bad it is on a scale of 1 to 5. Can't hear you, Kenny, at all. This place is too loud.
Sounds like you're standing right on the front straightaway of Indy.
Hey, Mark, the 48's just inquiring if we get a chance to help them on 5. That'd be cool. The thing they got to understand is they don't need the 5, you know, as bad as we need to lead the most laps. New leader, 48. When you get her back or something? It's like a 5-car back 5. They're trying to lead the most laps. They need to try to make a mistake. Good job, Jimmy. Once they get to the points where they've led the most laps, if we've got the car, then we can try to get by them. Therefore,
Problems up in turn number 4. It's going to be Michael Waltrip and Clint Boyer.
God, why do they have to wreck? You know? Yeah, I know, it's frustrating. Man, I tell you, you know, just wish we could arrange for it. You know, instead of having to do all this jockeying.
Mark Martin's not a guy to rough somebody up. If he can get around Kyle Busch, he'll do so cleanly. I don't think he's going to move him up the racetrack or try to turn him around.
It's showtime. Mark Martin to the bottom. Kyle Busch is up high. Busch shoots after the lead.
Just keep that pressure on him. You can get him.
Knock, knock. I'm underneath you. Mark Martin's trying to go for the lead.
Dig in here. At your door here. Corner, door, white flag, corner.
Martin has one last shot. He looks inside in turn 3. As they exit turn 4, it's not going to happen. Kyle Busch will win the Sharpie 500.
Don't put dirt on us yet. Yes, sir, Kyle Busch. That's awesome, buddy. 18's not going down without a fight. Oh, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
It's really difficult at that racetrack to communicate, and you could hear even Kyle Busch says, "Man, it sounds like you're standing on the front straightaway at Indianapolis." And a lot of teams, you know, they're one of those fancy microphones, but then it sounds like you're talking in a cave. And a lot of guys really tend to start just handing out notes and passing notes to the team members and whatnot. Now, what happened with the 14 car? I don't even know exactly. Yeah, you know, they had.
He was on the wrong channel.
He was on the wrong channel.
Sometimes it's a simple answer to a difficult question.
I did a little investigative reporting.
Yeah, sometimes you don't really have to get all technical. You just say, "Oh, I gotta change channels."
Whoops,
And then
sorry.
he couldn't reach it.
See, and that stuff
You couldn't reach
don't-
radio?
I made a little phone call.
Man, you did a good job on that.
Thank you. See, I got peeps too. You got
I like
peeps?
the way you do, Steve.
All right, thank you, buddy. Hey, right after this, we'll take a closer look at the points. Both Kyle Busch and Mark Martin helped their situations for the chase. So who fell? We'll take a look. Hard to see your windshield when it looks like a wadded up piece of saran wrap. Bristol highlights and analysis coming up. Plus, we'll get some of Michael and Chad's observations from Bristol a little bit later in the show. You're watching Twin.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Brought to you in part by NASCAR Banking, only from Bank of America. Your debit card, your credit card, your driver. Learn more at a Bank of America banking center today. And by AutoZone, because do-it-yourself doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Hey, just 2 races left in the race to the chase. Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon are officially clinched, but guys, where it gets interesting, just 89 points between 7th, Ryan Newman, and 14th, Brian Vickers. So the question is, who's going to get in and who's not going to make it?
This is the most fun chase ever, though, right? You've got so much drama. Generally, if you're in the top 12 at halfway of the season, you're going to make the chase. But that's certainly not the case this year, huh, Chad?
No, I think it's amazing. And, you know, if you think about it, you've got Matt Kenseth, who's made every chase to date, sitting right there on the bubble. And you know those guys are just like, what have we got to do to get a break? You know, they run good one week. The next week they run terrible. Then they get into an accident. It's like they just can't find their stride. The 5 car, they run fantastic. They've got 4 wins this year. And I think, how many DNFs? 3 DNFs? 4 DNFs? And that's what's killed those guys. So it's tight back there. And then you've got, you know, the 83 car coming off a win at Michigan. So they've got some momentum going into Atlanta. So it's going to be really tight.
And the 83 ran good at Atlanta, don't forget.
He always does.
Right, and don't assume anything. You know, 2 years ago, Casey Kane wins the night race at Bristol. This year, he can't outrun anyone. He struggles. So just because you've got a 50, 60-point lead over that 12th spot, you have to understand, you go to Atlanta in a couple of weeks, you're liable to run 35th or 36th. Because if you're off a little bit, that's how tough it is. So you take a guy like Matt Kenseth or even Casey Kane, and they don't have their setup right at Atlanta, and they finish back there, you could be out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your night at the Sharpie 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. Interesting strategy for the 55. You guys stayed out at one point. Talk about the night in general.
The car ran great, you know, and we were really proud of our performance. At the end of the race, we cut a left rear tire. It had a fender rub on our tire, and it blew out, and I crashed, and that was sad, but it was just fun. You know, I raced with Jeff Gordon. I raced with there's the tire blowing. I raced with all the cool people, and it made me very happy to be able to do that.
And you said don't assume. Clinton Boyer, who was trying to remain in the chase, gets wrecked right there as well and hits your car. Let's talk about the night for the 48. Really fast race car. You had problems in the pits at one point, but talk about your night.
Yeah, we real happy with the performance of Lowe's Chevrolet. We ran very well. We were fast in practice on Friday and ended qualifying practice on top of the board. Went out to qualifying, got a little bit loose, so we had to start 21st. And man, the car just went straight to the front. Jimmy did a great job and took his time, and we passed a bunch of guys and led a few laps, and everything was really looking up for us for a solid top 5 finish. And unfortunately, we came down pit road. That caution board started to rain a little bit, and we had a problem on a pit stop. And it wasn't the fault of a tire changer or the jackman or anybody like that, but actually what happened was a lug nut, as they were pulling the wheel off, went through the spokes and landed on the hub. When they put the next wheel on, the tire changer hit one lug nut and pulled it up crooked, and he wasn't able to get the other lug nuts on. They fell off. And the mistake that we made was we didn't stop right there and repair the problem. They sent the car off to come back around.
So in essence, it was jammed.
No.
The lug nut was
the lug nut was in between the wheel and the drive plate. So when the tire changer tightened up one lug nut, it just sandwiched it in there, and he wasn't able to draw up the other ones because it just took up that space. And that's one of those freak things that can happen every now and again. I don't know of a way that we could have corrected that. The only thing that we could have done would have been to have stopped, pulled the wheel off at that time, and made sure everything was clear, and then put it back on.
Well, our other panelist, Greg Biffle, had a big night. He finished in the top 5. Here's what Greg said after the race.
All right, guys, another decent race for the 16-car 3M Ford Fusion. 4th place, but unfortunately, the guy we're trying to race to get in the chase, 18, wins the race. Overall, a good night. I got behind on the adjustments. I let the car get too tight. Had to free it up, got it back going again toward the end of the race. And wow, those double foul restarts, very important to be on the outside lane on those double foul restarts. You get pinned on the bottom and you lose 2 or 3, 4 spots every time.
And Greg Biffle, 8th in points. Hey, you want the Kyle Busch Picture of the Week? To enter the Picture of the Week giveaway, go to speedtv.com, click the show's tab at the top, and go to the This Week in NASCAR page, and you'll see a link at the bottom of the page to email us. Put Kyle Busch in the subject line.
Breathe, Steve.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. Let's take a look at the highlights from the Sharpie 500 under the lights. 160,000 fans there. 55th consecutive sellout. Lap 6. Joey Logano into the wall.
Took Dave Blaney with him, didn't he? Was that Blaney that got in the wall as well?
I believe that was a 34 of Johnny Andretti.
Oh, watch this. Reed gets
Sorensen.
And that just, that's how quick it happens at Bristol, and so sad for Joey. Yeah. Joey's had a great car all weekend.
Qualified very well.
Yeah, and was fast in practice, and gets wiped out from just a guy getting loose.
Lap 77, we just saw Mark Martin takes the lead from Greg Biffle. When you approach this race, Chad, is it a matter of you're pacing yourself until the traffic sorts it out? The reason I asked, Kurt Busch said, I've got to be patient. I just want to be there with 100 laps to go.
Yeah, I think you have to. Like we were just talking about under break, we used to get a caution there about every 35 laps. Well, that's changed since we've introduced the new car, since they've repaved the racetrack. It's about every 50 laps now. So it's not like it used to be, to where you would have so many cautions to where you could play off a pit strategy. Say if you qualified in the back, you could jump up to the front by staying out one time. You really can't. You got to be cautious with that. So it's a thing where you've got to bide your time, wait for people to kind of fall off, and then take advantage of it and pass them.
We look now at lap 12. Tony Stewart had a rough weekend at Bristol. As we said, you heard in Radioactive, he had radio problems. He comes in and tries to get it fixed.
That's more than a radio problem there.
He's given NASCAR took a lap from him at one point because he'd gotten ahead of the schedule.
Well, maybe, but I think it's obvious they've got an electrical problem of some sort.
It was an electrical problem.
I don't know if maybe they were adjusting the radio and hit a switch or did something like that, but I know they were up underneath the dash trying to work on things inside the car there.
I did not make a call on that issue. He finished 33rd.
But you do know that he's changed the channel.
Wrong channel. I do know that. Time for the Geico Greatest Pit Crew.
And
that next highlight.
Just so you're comfortable, Steve, I went to Geico.com and saved 15%.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And they are selling the caveman outfits on there, too.
Why didn't you get one?
I'm just not ready yet.
Kurt Busch's team couldn't get the tear off all the way off, but they didn't take any extra time on pit road.
And you know what? That's difficult, because that very easily could have gotten on the front end of somebody's car and ruined their night. And that's all it would take with that little piece of plastic to get on your grill and just block it off.
Look at this racing in traffic. Jimmy Johnson grabs the outside and the position away from Mark Martin. Mark chose the bottom and got blocked off by Casey Kane.
Yeah. The track's just awesome for racing. It really is. And it's tight racing too. It's not like you saw a leader just kind of get together and check out. I mean, they were right there racing with each other, a straightaway apart all day long.
You know what's fun too? If you're a fan, you're up in the stands, the whole track is full. There's racing everywhere. I watched the nationwide race Friday night, and I got dizzy because I wanted to see everything, and you just can't see it all. It's that intense. No wonder there was 160,000 people there Saturday night.
Love racing there. Hey, coming up next, two teammates got together. One is trying to make the chase. We'll break down what happened. Plus, Kyle Busch won 2 of the 3 races at Bristol and was wrecked while leading the other one. Truck and nationwide highlights coming up. The Atlanta preview just around the corner. We're about to see something we've never seen at Atlanta.
The Greatest Pit Crew has been presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Glad you're back with us. We're going to get into more of the highlights from Saturday night's Sharpie 500. Now, we had a brief caution for some rain showers, but Michael Waltrip stayed out during the rain. He leads on the restart.
Yeah, and the first lap it felt so good. I got on down into turn 1 the next lap, and it didn't feel so good. His front end skittered out.
Then we're going to have your basic chain reaction. The 29, Kevin Harvick, gets into Clint Boyer.
Oh, and then Boyer hits Harvick. Major crash.
You see Kurt Busch checking up in the 2, and they just start stacking up.
And Brian Vickers slips by after getting hit in the side, but pretty amazing night that Kurt Busch could go through all that and still wind up with a solid finish.
We've talked about this before, Chad, but again, the spotter, how important that is when there's basically not enough real estate to get out of the way.
And I think a track like Bristol is what separates the good spotters from the bad spotters. It's really easy to be a spotter and sit up there and say, hey, car spinning in front of you. Well, I mean, yeah, no kidding. That's easy to see, but which way is a guy going? And that's where a good spotter can set in. Our spotter, Earl Barban, does a very good job of helping Jimmy when something like that happens and having the forethought to say, look, that guy's definitely going to run up track before he comes down. So paying attention to that kind of stuff and helping the drivers through that is key.
We talked about Juan Pablo Montoya a minute ago. He had a good run going in the top 10 all night, but then he hits the wall and has a tire going down.
Did they stay out after they started sliding back a little bit?
I think he was right up front, and his tire went flat, and he wound up coming to the pit road.
Something odd was there.
Martin Truex after contact from Jamie McMurray.
That was a left front tire that went down on Martin. He did get together with another car, and it was boiling smoke. But at Bristol, what are you going to do? You know, you're thinking maybe it'll clearance itself, maybe it won't blow out. If you come to pit road, you're going to lose a couple of laps. And Martin felt like he could make it. He didn't make it.
We talked about the contact you had. Michael Waltrip and Martin Truex Jr. get together. Let's take a look at that.
I just ran out of room. I don't really know. You know how, like last night in the Major League Baseball deal, there was an unassisted triple play?
Yeah.
And that guy did all that. I guarantee you when it's all said and done, he thought, who am I going to tag now? What do I do now? That's what I was right there. I come off that corner, and all of a sudden, we're all running into each other, and I'm thinking, how'd this just happen? And then that didn't result. That wasn't the reason, but eventually we had another issue, got a fender rub and blew a left rear tire, which ended our night.
I think people should Twitter you about that.
It doesn't take long in a 16-second lap, does it?
No. Twitter.com/MW55. Yes, I did it right that time.
On it.
So if you want to Twitter, we'll talk about it.
Time now for the Castrol Edge smart move of the race. It goes to Kyle Busch. Michael and Chad talked about it. He gave Mark Martin all kinds of room.
That's like the fans say, why didn't you hit him? He didn't need to hit him. Kyle got out of his way and gave Mark a place to race. And how are you going to hit a guy that does that? Plus, that was Mark Martin's 1,000th start, and he ain't hit nobody yet. I'm not thinking it's going to happen in start 1,000.
It's not his style.
There he is giving the flag to one of the fans.
Man, I hope that little kid, I think it's a little girl, I hope she gets to hang that over her bed and enjoy, just to appreciate what that meant. I mean, this is a guy that just won one of the biggest races of the year.
A clutch win.
I mean, a big win for his team, a big win for anyone. And then he gave that little girl the flag. She should treasure that.
Is he getting soft?
I just think he's turning over a new leaf. I think he's going in a new direction.
I'm going to call him tonight.
I know not a lot of people know this, but he hugged me.
Biffle wouldn't hug him.
I'm definitely calling him.
We were by the trucks, and he's like, he's looking around, and he's like, just bring it in for the real thing.
Was it a man hug?
No, it was.
And you said, hug it out. Hug it out.
I said, that feels good, doesn't it, Kyle? This is therapy for you. Just breathe, buddy.
How about for you? Therapy for you too?
I liked it a lot. He's famous.
When we come back, Ron Hornaday tried to score his 6th straight win in the trucks. We'll show you what happened.
He could have had a 6-pack.
He could have. Michael has a 1-pack. Still to come. A look at the first Atlanta race this year, where a Busch ended up in victory lane. Because not one Busch, it's another, right, Michael?
That's right.
The smart move of the race has been presented by Castrol Edge. Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge Advanced Synthetic. Nothing offers better wear and protection.
This week in NASCAR, Speed Network, Geico. Yeah, they sponsor it. Just watch it anyways. It's good.
We're getting Michael one of those blue fire suits, I'm just saying.
Do I have to have a nose? Like, is that his real nose, or do you have to put a bigger nose?
It's makeup. It's a prosthetic.
Ooh, that's a dirty word,
Yes,
isn't
it was. But no, it's not. Donnie Leo won the modified race at the Bristol Motor Speedway Wednesday night. Following that, the big story, the big question, could Ron Hornaday win his 6th consecutive Camping World Truck Series race?
3 wide as they go down the backstretch. This is for the lead. The 51 of Kyle Busch trying to take it away. They stay 3 wide. Kyle Busch takes the position away. He is your leader here at Bristol. Kyle Busch, the spoiler for Ron Hornaday at Bristol Motor Speedway, but Kyle Busch gets back to victory lane in NASCAR. Kyle Busch outside of his truck, right at the start-finish line.
Overall, 5 in a row. I got to thank all them fans, and whatever they've been writing, and it's been a lot of fun, and now we can start all over again.
We'll see if Ron Hornaday can restart the streak. Michael Waltrip will be there. Chicagoland Speedway. You'll see it Friday night, 8:30 Eastern, here on Speed. Well, Friday night, no shortage of fireworks in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race. David Reagan held off a hard-charging Carl Edwards for the win.
Allgaier with that lead. Keselowski wants to get it by the time they come off of turn 2. Close contact. They touch. Damage to Keselowski's right front. Allgaier's car is damaged. He's in the wall in turn 3.
You can see it just takes the left rear tire out of Allgaier. He has no control over the car at that point. Here goes Kyle Busch.
See if he can make that work. Down on the inside, he's trying to make this pass, and I think it's going to happen. Oh, man.
Up across the racetrack and contact with the 07 car.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
That's a hard lick right there.
Really don't know what the 07 was doing right there. Green, white, checker to decide the issue here at Bristol.
Carl Edwards on the inside. Reagan trying to nail the throttle up high. Gets him by a car length, and Reagan has the lead off turn 2. White flag this time by.
That's it. Race is over.
Justin Allgaier spinning down the front straightaway into turn 1 here.
The 23-year-old Georgia product goes to victory lane here at Bristol, Tennessee.
Whether it was Wednesday night or Friday night or Saturday night, just great racing, crazy stuff happening. And what I love most about it, the stands were packed. I mean, there was probably 50, 60,000 people there on Wednesday night to watch the trucks. And then Saturday night, obviously, 55th consecutive sellout.
160,000, 55th consecutive.
How do you say that? I mean, I can't even fathom that. In this day and time of people struggling and trying to figure out how their lives are going to work out, and then to say, I need a break. That's what Bristol is for folks, is a chance to come and take a break and see some crazy racing, and I'm glad it didn't disappoint. I loved everything we saw all week.
Yeah, I typically don't get an opportunity to go down and watch any of the racing or so on and so forth. I'm either working or in my motorhome trying to get ready for the next day. I took a break Saturday night and I went into the racetrack and I stood down in 3 and 4. There's an area right there where the photographers stand right on the wall, and you can watch the cars enter turn 3 and come all the way through off of turn 4. What an amazing view. You can actually watch the front tires of the cars as they go into the corner. You could see if somebody was tight, their front tires would turn just a little bit more. You could see if they were loose, the tires would go back the other way. Just an amazing, amazing event. It was so cool to watch.
It was a wild weekend and a lot going on, as Michael said, on and off the track. Let's take a look and go in focus.
You never know what to expect at Bristol. We're going to party down tonight. Woo!
You know what everybody's going to need before it's all said and done? This right here.
I'm crumbled. I'm junk. Double foul restart. Under green flag conditions, you enter turn 2, exit turn 3. Enter turn 3, 4, exit turn 1. It's confusing.
If you'll just get me near that son gun leading this race, he'll be a screwed up individual.
We actually have a script when we show up, and Michael's like, no, we're not doing any of this. And then we kind of make up.
That's what happens every Monday night. It's me.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
How about Rudy throwing you under the bus, saying that you rewrite all the commercials?
Yeah, and then you jumped right on his bandwagon, didn't you? You could have defended me.
No, it's good TV right there, my friend.
They were supposed to read this. I got a better idea, Steve. Let's do something different. You want to?
What do you want to do?
I don't know. I made that up.
No, NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot. We have a weekend off, but you catch it from the Atlanta Motor Speedway Sunday, September 6th. Starting at 5. Up next, a new date and time for that Atlanta race. Michael and Chad will explain how this may affect the racing. Plus, we'll take a look at some unusual things that have happened at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. This week in NASCAR, will be right back.
It's one of the 2 fastest tracks on the whole NASCAR circuit.
We will see 2 3-wide racing.
It's a 1.5 mile racetrack, but it's a mile of turns. The poor right side tires, they never get a break.
I think we indeed are setting up for a very exciting race this afternoon.
We'll be at the Atlanta Motor Speedway in 2 weekends. We have this weekend off. However, here on Speed, as we mentioned, you'll see the Camping World Truck Series race from Chicagoland, qualifying and the race. Also want to mention the nationwide teams in Montreal. Well, boys, after the weekend off, we're going to go to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's a new weekend. They've essentially flip-flopped with the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. So it's Labor Day weekend, and it's under the lights. What do you think about the change in both the time of year and the lights?
I think it's a good move. We typically fight weather there when we go later in the year, and it always seems to be a bit of a hassle. I think Sunday night racing there is going to be exciting. We've actually, people may not remember this, but we've actually raced at nighttime there twice because of rain delays. And so we've got a little bit of history on that, but the track is definitely going to change an awful lot. In qualifying, we pick up like 6 to 7 tenths of a second from practice time to qualifying time going into from the day session to night. So it's going to get faster as we go, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And what you'll love is you saw a couple of cars hugging that yellow line right at the bottom of the track, and then you see a couple right up next to the fence. There's a lot of grooves at Atlanta. The dynamic of racing into the dark or racing at night is going to be something that these crew chiefs and these teams with this new car haven't experienced at Atlanta yet. So it'll be interesting to see how you set your car up and what adjustments you build into your car so that maybe as it gets darker, later, faster, you can keep up with the racetrack.
We raced at the Atlanta Motor Speedway excuse me, earlier in the spring. Kurt Busch took the checkered flag there. Let's take a look back.
Today, Atlanta Motor Speedway will drop the green flag for the 100th time as the Sprint Cup Series will do battle. We're already seeing these cars use every inch of the racetrack.
And I'm trying everything all over. I've had a good group. I move around. It's just not easy out here. Not saying it is, man. I wouldn't want your job.
Carl Edwards now the race leader.
You are the leader, buddy. You are the leader.
Kurt Busch has come back to life.
Sorry about that, guys. It's all right, man. You're driving your ass off, man. You're doing an awesome job.
The green flag is out. Carl Edwards gets a jump on Kurt Busch.
Just a little bit tighter around the center on the bottom.
We've got a tussle. We've got a fight. We've got a war. Your new leader is Kurt Busch in turn 4. The drag race to the checkered flag will be won by Kurt Busch in the Miller Lite Dodge.
You're the man, buddy. Good job, guys. Good job. Woo-hoo-hoo! I believe it's time to play some beer.
I was just looking at Twitter, Mike Waltrip, on Twitter. Kenny Wallace said Ed Clark is upset that folks are saying, he says this on his Twitter, that Atlanta's losing a race in 0-10. He said they're good. They're not going to lose a race in 0-10. And as a race car driver, I'm happy about that. That is one of the most fun racetracks we drive on. You got all the speed in the world and all the room in the world to race. And I talked to Ed, too, at Bristol. He said ticket sales are trending in a good direction. There's going to be more people there this coming weekend when we race there than ever before. So good things for Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Actually, there's going to be a chat on SpeedTV.com tomorrow. Ed Clark and Jimmy Johnson, 2 different times during the day. Jimmy in the morning. Did you know that? 9:30?
I didn't.
Okay, well you do now.
He's going to be up at 9. He's going to be up at 9:30.
Yeah, apparently so.
And Ed's at noon, right?
Yes, it is.
And
they might want to switch those.
I just want to tell you, Jimmy, us race car drivers, Jimmy, Chad.
That'd be me.
We'll just cut that right out. You'll never hear it. I just want to tell you, Chad, us race car drivers, we do that. We work a lot. I mean, you don't know it, but there's a lot of stuff going on. Like, for example, poor Jimmy's got to be up at 9 in the morning.
And you're rewriting commercial scripts.
And I'm working on some new Aaron scripts for Rudy, and I'm going to Twitter.
Speaking of wackiness, some odd things happen at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Can you imagine some ad agency guy going, Michael, here's our script. No, don't like this. Let's change page 2.
That really doesn't work for me.
That doesn't work for me. Poor Jimmy Watts. Chad and I were just laughing.
Oh, poor guy.
Caution comes out. He was suspended for 4 races because he went out and chased that tire. Poor Jimmy thought it was over.
Yeah.
It was all forgotten.
Yeah, he's sitting there, he's thinking, man, that was in the spring. Everybody's forgotten about it. It's died down. I'm back to work. Everything's great. Yeah, not so much. We got to bring it right back to the forefront.
Thanks this week in NASCAR.
I just always appreciated his passion. Tire got away, I'm going to go get it.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it didn't get much further away.
Also,
and that was a safety reason.
It was.
I mean, everybody needs to understand that. It wasn't, it was safety. I mean, he was running on Green Flag Racing at Atlanta, but these guys running around the track just is not smart.
As I recall, that caution really jumbled up.
Yeah, it was during the stop.
Yeah,
anytime you have a caution during pit stops.
Yeah, they caught us, I think. They pinched us a little bit there.
Yep. Another wacky thing, Kurt Busch wins the race, drives around his victory lap in reverse. It's wacky.
I remember him doing that, and I remember he had a story behind it. And I don't really.
He said he wanted to see the fans.
He did?
I think he said no.
Didn't the one where he
said he was
some buddies that came out? He had a name for it too.
All I know is they whipped us. They absolutely whipped us that day. Pat Trison and those guys did a fantastic job, and you can see Michael and I were talking about just a moment. Look at the right side; it's all scratched up and beat up, and he was just rim riding all day long and just fast as
that was an impressive performance. I love seeing special athletes do special things, and what that boy did that day, the way he drove that car right next to the fence for 500 miles. He should have driven around backwards.
You should have hugged Kurt Busch too, because that was special.
Well, his brother's a good hugger.
That's right.
I might see what he's got when we get to Atlanta.
Congratulations. With twin returns, we'll have our new Garage Pass segment. One driver caused a caution, then got the lucky dog on Saturday night. Is that fair? We'll weigh in on that with our panel. You're watching This Week in NASCAR. Stay with us.
Oh, he didn't hit it.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico.
Geico.
Well, as Michael likes to say, the Atlanta Motor Speedway gives you options. The other thing the drivers say is that it's fun.
Biggest challenge of racing in Atlanta is basically to be patient with your tires and keep the tires underneath you. It's a very grip-sensitive track. You really have to manhandle your car.
When the sun goes down, your window is pitted up because the asphalt's wore out, and you got all this tire debris stuff all over it, and you can't see very good going into turn one.
It's a driver's racetrack. You got to work all over the place and go high, go low, go wherever it takes to run the best.
They're talking about the surface being abrasive and the grooves opening up, and the reason is just because the track is so old. I don't know exactly when it was. It was the late 90s, I believe, when it was repaved the last time and the configuration was changed. And the track has sat and baked in the Georgia sun for all these years, in the cold weather in the wintertime. So it goes through those cycles, and it just eats tires alive, and that's what opens it up to great racing. Now, one thing you have to remember is Goodyear did go and conduct a tire test, so we are going with a different tire this time.
We're going to roll something out new here. We're always tweaking this show, trying to make it better. We're going to call this Garage Pass, where Chad Knaus and Michael Waltrip will offer some observations that perhaps weren't the blind obvious.
So it's called what?
Garage Pass. Twitter that, my friend.
Pass is going to Twitter.
All right, Chad, your first thought about Bristol.
I really think that from what we've seen in the past, and we've talked about the multi-groove racing at Bristol, and I think that that's something that people are kind of taking that for granted. If you look at this race, we had more 3-wide racing and 4-wide racing than we've had at a lot of racetracks. We're talking a half-mile track.
Isn't it fun?
It's
awesome.
Exciting. And I think a lot of that does have to do with, quite frankly, the double file restarts. We saw a lot of that, especially mid-pack. But when we got up and the leaders were catching the lap-down cars, you would see those guys running 2 and 3 wide very, very conservatively and very comfortably all the way around the racetrack. And I think that's something we kind of took for granted this weekend.
Michael Waltrip.
How do you spell Atlanta?
A-T-L-A-N-T-A.
Hot Atlanta.
Denny Hamlin on the Garage Pass. Let's roll him into this deal. It appeared as if he hit the back of Bobby Labonte and spun him out, but then he got the lucky dog. You can't cause a caution and then get a lucky dog. So NASCAR's just looking at that with the naked eye, and they might say, nope, Denny, you're not getting a lucky dog. But look, he never, close. I don't think he touched him.
Look at Michael Waltrip go by.
I heard it all going on beside me. That's when you're going like this. Ooh.
Is that what you say? Woo. I know you have a thought, too, in your Garage Pass observation about Mark Martin.
I just love what he did on Saturday night. He started his 1,000th race. I had the honor and the good fortune to be able to do that a little bit earlier this year. In fact, it was Atlanta in the spring. I started my 1,000th NASCAR race. Mark started and finished his 1,000th race just like he's raced every race prior to that. He sat on the pole. He led laps. He was racing for the win. He is such a blessed man to be able to do what he's had passion for and love for so many years, and then be able to celebrate a 1,000th start by almost winning. I'm just real proud for Mark, and I think it's great for our sport. We've heard so much about the young kids coming in and how it's all going to change. Mark's making sure it sort of stays the same for a little while longer.
I know another thought both you guys wanted to get in was about qualifying at Bristol. I say this on the air every Friday. We take for granted how close the qualifying actually is, how close the field is.
Well, Chad, you can expand on this, but I think that might have been the closest, most intense qualifying session ever.
Yeah.
Mark Martin ran a 15:41. People listen to this. A 15:41, he's on the pole. I'm 36th at a 15:71. That means there's 36 cars within 3/10 of a third of a second within each other. This cat, Eric Almirola, was one of the top 10 fastest cars in practice. He knew what the pressure was. Yep. He tried to make the race. He winds up spinning and misses the race. Denny does the same thing. Mike Skinner ran a 15:79. That's less than 4/10 slower than the pole sitter. He misses the race. 45 cars came to Bristol and ran under 16 seconds. Yeah. All of them in the 15-second bracket. There's something that I think is important to realize. NASCAR has got us a car that if you've got a little bit of money, you can get a car together, the rules are such where you can go compete.
Yeah, and I think there were two things additionally to that I think contributed to the close qualifying effort. A lot of the guys that were fast in practice got early draws. And there was something that went on there. We started qualifying at 4:30, so it was actually getting cooler as qualifying progressed. So that's why you saw the guys at the back kind of qualifying a little bit better. Now, secondly, we had a different tire in the Cup Series than they did in the Nationwide Series. So we ran both of our practice sessions on track, and most of our guys on the Cup side did their qualifying runs at the end of the second practice session. So all of that rubber from the previous practice from the Nationwide cars was gone. That was completely different than what was on the track. The Nationwide guys qualified in between our final practice session and our qualifying session. So I think that mixed things up just a little bit for everybody, especially the guys that went early.
And if you're talking about 0.3 of a second separating first from 36, these guys, the crew chiefs, the teams, they have to think of every variable. And Chad is right. The rubber was different. You might say, big deal. No.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It could change the way your car grips. And when you're operating in such a thin window, it makes it crazy when it comes time to qualify.
See, that's breaking it down. You only get that on this show.
I like the garage pass. How do you spell pass? Is that with a T?
P-A-S-S. Up next on Supercars Exposed, that lucky Tanner Faust takes the $225,000 Spiker C8 on the road for a little test drive, but this time his car draws the wrong attention. See if Tanner can avoid a ticket when he gets pulled over in his bona fide supercar. That's 9 o'clock up next here on Speed. We're off next Monday, but join us on Monday, September 7th. Michael will be here, and the Biff, Greg Biffle, joins us at 8 Eastern.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance, and by Cheerios, good for the heart.
That's where the buffet is.
Time for the picture of the week. You want the Kyle Busch picture? Go to speedtv.com, click the show's tab at the top, go to the This Week in NASCAR page, and you'll see a link at the bottom to email us. Put Kyle Busch in the subject line, and you're entered to win. Be sure to put your shipping address in the email. The winner will be revealed in 2 weeks. Brian Vickers' picture goes to Cheryl in Poland, Ohio.
There are no pictures of Kyle and I hugging, by the way.
There could be. Time now for the Z-Max Fuel for Thought email segment. First question on restarts. Michael Waltrip, the driver, what gear are you in when you get the green flag, or does it depend on the track?
It depends on the track somewhat. If you're at a road course, you'd be in first, more than likely. But most all the other tracks, you would be in second gear. When they throw the green, you're in second. By the time you get across the start-finish line there, you're probably up to third. And then shortly after that, you go to fourth. So most of the time, second.
All right. During the hat dance in Victory Lane, how many hats will the driver and crew wear in the photo ops? Chad Knaus?
You know, I think it has a lot to do with the teams themselves, because what you do when you get into Victory Lane, you wear the hat of your associate sponsors, your primary sponsor, the race sponsors and whatnot. So if you've got 10 associate sponsors and one primary sponsor on your car, then you're going to have 11 hats. Then you obviously put in the race sponsors' hats and the track promoters' hats and those guys. So, you know, it can be anywhere from 15 to 20, maybe 30 hats.
I think I'm going to sneak in a hat one day. You know, nobody will know.
Steve Burns hat?
Yeah, nobody will know it. You just take the hat.
You know why there's not such thing as Steve Burns t-shirts, though?
Because I don't drive a race car. What is the octane rating of the Sunoco fuel? Any special additives in the fuel compared to gas you get at the pump?
Who reminds you of that more than anyone?
My wife.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's 98.
98.
Sorry. I didn't know who was supposed to answer that, but we did no additives. No additives, so it is unleaded fuel, and it's 98% or 98% octane, so it's good stuff by Sunoco.
There better not be additives.
Yeah. Additives are frowned upon.
Yes.
Why is that?
I'm not sure. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that.
We don't talk about past lives.
We're not talking about me punching Lake Speed. We're just going to keep this show current.
Headed forward.
I want to do TV that Daryl would be proud of.
So you're going to go to Chicagoland and do the Camping World Truck Series race?
I'm passionate about the trucks. I love watching them on the track. I love seeing Ron Hornaday stack himself up against kids like Brian Scott and Taylor Mossam. I mean, it's all there to me. The dynamic of young versus old. It's just like in the Cup Series. You know, you've got it all.
Chad, do you like having this off weekend where it is in the schedule?
I think it's going to be nice. It'll be good for everybody to get refreshed 2 weeks off before the chase actually starts. I think it comes at a good time in the season to where everybody can just kind of chill, relax, get their bearings, get ready to go.
Where will Chad Knaus chill and relax?
I will be probably in Cornelius, North Carolina.
Oh, not going anywhere.
Home game. We like that.
You're just getting your focus for the rest of the season.
Chase starts.